Hi, my name is Jamie Escalante, and this is my presentation on cognitive linguistics. First, to begin, we have just the basics. What is linguistics? The study of how language works, how it is used, how it is acquired, how it changes over time, how it is represented in the brain, and so on. That comes from our textbook. I have some various theories, and these are here to provide something to compare cognitive linguistics to. It is a fairly complex theory or enterprise, as you'll see, and so I believe it's necessary to compare from the others, or a few of the others. So we have over here on the right a universal grammar. This was a theory that was invented, if that's the right word, by Richard Montague, actually incompatible with traditional linguistic theory. From what I've read, the background is in set theory and formal language theory, and its premise is that the natural and formal language can be studied in the same way. So that was kind of what he was pushing there during that time. From there, actually, we see linguistic theory and study developed into standard and then extended standard theory, which is based on a Saussurean idea that language is a system of words, that words are most important, and that language is really to be viewed as a sociocultural reality. From there, those are standard and extended standard theories are actually terms coined by Chomsky, as he used these ideas as a starting off point to form his own theories about language, and from there we see how cognitive linguistics became what it is and started. But looking at transformational generative theory, we have that Chomsky chose to emphasize cognitive aspects of language and worked off of the premise, or out of the premise, that linguistic competence is innate in all humans. So we can see the connection and the development from universal grammar, what existed during that time, although there were various other theories that also existed during the time that Montague introduced his ideas. But we can see how the study of language is different, that people can have different views and ideas of what language is, how language is understood, what language is, even the purpose of it is. And so we'll go ahead and move from transformational generative, which was actually groundbreaking in that it did focus more on the cognitive aspects of language, to the cognitive linguistics theory here. So just two quotes, just to give a brief introduction of cognitive linguistics that I found were really helpful in my understanding of it. The first one, the most important way, and these are taken out of a book, in which cognitive linguistics differs from other studies of language, is that language is assumed to reflect certain fundamental properties and design features of the human mind. Okay. 2. Cognitive linguists explore the hypothesis that certain kinds of linguistic expressions provide evidence that the structure of our conceptual system is reflected in the patterns of language. Okay, some very dense sentences. You gotta really let those sink in, but that really, I believe, is the essence of cognitive linguistics, although there's much to it, as you can see here. Cognitive linguistics is considered by many cognitive linguistic scholars to be an enterprise as opposed to a theory. So we have very nicely and succinctly put commitments, assumptions, and the worldview, which cognitive linguists hold to, also see through, etc. So under commitments, and this is going to really help us understand what cognitive linguistics is. So the commitments that cognitive linguists hold to, so we have the cognitive commitment. Reads, this represents a commitment to providing a characterization of language that accords with what is known about the mind and brain from other disciplines. What that's basically saying, and I'll go over these commitments in more detail than I will the assumption and worldview, mostly because the assumptions are going to need to be looked at very closely by each of you, and it is beyond. It will take more time than what I have here. And the worldview, these are really easy to understand. Doesn't really need much as far as explanation from my part to really grasp what that means. But so what this first cognitive commitment is basically saying is that cognitive linguists will not move beyond what has been discoverable by cognitive science, cognitive psychology, everything that lines up everything lines up. So what they discover, what they purport to be true in regards to linguistics, cognitive linguistics, can all be backed by science. Okay, can all be backed by research, etc. The second commitment is a generalization commitment. What this says is it represents a dedication to characterizing general principles that apply to all aspects of human language. This is really important. This is different and unique in that although cognitive linguists do understand and realize there are benefits to breaking up aspects of language into subcategories for the purpose of studying, etc., facilitating communication regarding each subcategory. And by subcategory, I mean morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. Cognitive linguists prefer to take a general approach, so they do not break up language into these subcategories. They view language through a lens on the mind. So they view that all of language can be viewed and can be looked at altogether and in general, and that breaking the language up into subcategories would not be consistent with the way the mind is created, the way the mind works. Okay, so that is the second commitment. We go to their assumptions. So what this means is this: when as cognitive linguists are studying, as they're researching, as they're looking at language, these are the things that they assume. Okay, and again, these assumptions are based on the commitments. So again, all of their assumptions can be completely backed by what is known about cognitive science, about brain function and psychology, sociology, so it is interdisciplinary, etc. Okay, so we have these 5 theses. Thesis of embodied cognition, the thesis of encyclopedic semantics, the symbolic thesis, the thesis that meaning is conceptualization, and the usage-based thesis. I do encourage you to look into each of these. Very interesting. I think the thesis that meaning is conceptualization was the most profound. Oh, and the thesis of encyclopedic semantics. Worldview. Again, these are pretty self-explanatory. So here we have language reflects the conceptual organization. Okay, so what this worldview column is too, I should have maybe touched on that a bit before going right into it. What this is basically saying is this is more of like the application side of cognitive linguistics, when what the implications of cognitive linguistics are, what a cognitive linguistics or what a cognitive linguist, how they see and how they view the world, how they think about language, etc. So the first one, language reflects conceptual organization. Okay. Next, language is a lens on the mind. Okay, I think I mentioned that before. Third, language provides a mechanism for construal. Okay, you can really see the deeply integrated ideas that cognitive linguists have that in regards to the connection between the mind and language, and the generalization of language in regards to how the mind communicates and understands the concepts of language. And then we have fourth, language influences non-linguistic cognition. Okay, and then lastly, there's a common human, conceptualization capacity. Okay, kind of running out of time. I'm going to hurry up just a little bit. I wanted to recommend these two resources. The first one is called Cognitive Linguistics: An Introduction. It's a textbook written by Vivian Evans and Megan Green, I believe. It's in the Works Cited. They wrote this out of a frustration that they encountered while teaching at Sussex University, and not finding good material to work with. And I find it to be really clear. They're excellent writers, and I really highly recommend it. If you want more of just a basic overview, Cognitive Linguistics by Vivian Evans, herself, in the Wiley Interdisciplinary Review, the Cognitive Science, this is also excellent. This is about 812 pages summed up into 4, so that one's really good also. And so I recommend you check those out. I myself believe I may be a cognitive linguist. I'd have to do a bit more research on the other theories, but I did find that throughout this class, in my fieldwork, in the analysis of literature project that we had assigned, I find myself taking a more generalized perspective on language, and a lot of what I've learned or about cognitive linguistics really resonated with me, and I think I'm more of a cognitive linguist. So hope that you learned something from my presentation, and hope everyone's doing well. Okay, that's it.